When it comes to Prince Harry and Meghan, the world seems to hold its breath every time a new glimpse into their private lives appears. This time, a rare, heartwarming moment surfaced footage from a quiet family outing to a pumpkin patch, showing just how grounded and ordinary life can be for two of the most talked-about people on the planet. The video wasn't part of a glossy documentary or a carefully orchestrated photo shoot. It wasn't a publicity stunt or a red carpet spectacle. It was simply Harry and Meghan, enjoying autumn with Archie and Lilibet, a snapshot of peace and togetherness that stood in stark contrast to the noise that so often surrounds them. And yet, even this simple family moment sparked discussion, because when it comes to the Sussexes, every move becomes a headline. But what's really happening here is something far more profound than a family day out. It's a reminder of how Harry and Meghan have redefined what royal life means on their own terms, especially when it comes to protecting their children and their privacy. The question we should be asking isn't why they shared this moment, but why sharing something so simple feels revolutionary. When did normalcy become newsworthy? When did a family picking pumpkins become an act of defiance? The answer lies in decades of royal tradition that treated privacy as a privilege reserved only for those who played by the rules. But Harry and Meghan refused to accept that their children's childhood should be currency for public approval. For years, the British press painted a picture of a couple who supposedly wanted the spotlight while demanding privacy. But this quiet pumpkin patch footage shows the truth. They're not chasing attention, they're choosing when and how to share pieces of their lives on their own timeline. It's about control, boundaries, and dignity. Harry and Meghan have always understood that the world is curious, perhaps even obsessed with their story. But instead of letting the media dictate it, they've learned to manage that curiosity strategically. Moments like these are shared not for hype, but for humanity. They remind people that behind the headlines are two parents navigating the same joys and challenges every mom and dad face. Think about it. We've watched the British royal machine operate for decades, built on tradition, secrecy and control. But Harry and Meghan broke that system wide open. They said no to the unspoken rules that demanded silence in exchange for acceptance. They chose honesty over protocol and compassion over performance. The pumpkin patch video, simple as it may seem, carries that same energy. It's not about spectacle. It's about reclaiming narrative. Because for years, every story written about them came filtered through tabloid distortion, often cruel, often false, always designed to sell. But now, when Harry and Meghan choose to share something, it's authentic. It's through their own voice, their own lens, and their own platform. And that's powerful. When Meghan spoke about the Tig years ago, she mentioned wanting people to see that life's small, beautiful moments matter more than appearances. And here that same philosophy continues. No palace walls, no formal titles, no paparazzi flashbulbs, just family, simplicity and love. What's fascinating is how this represents a generational shift in how we understand celebrity and royalty. Previous generations accepted that public figures owed the world access to every moment. But Harry and Meghan are part of a movement that says visibility doesn't equal availability. Fame doesn't mean forfeiting the right to say no. Their children will grow up knowing that their parents fought for their right to just be kids, not royal props, not photo opportunities, but children free to explore pumpkin patches without the weight of expectation on their shoulders. Still, it's telling how even a wholesome moment like this can trigger intense reactions. Certain media outlets immediately framed it as strategic, calculated, or image-building. But here's the reality: when you've been relentlessly targeted for years, even your peace becomes political. That's what Harry and Meghan live with. Their privacy is never just privacy, it's seen as rebellion. But this is where they've quietly built a new kind of power, one rooted in boundaries and integrity. Instead of feeding the tabloids, they choose when to speak. Instead of hiding, they choose what to share. And instead of running from their critics, they stand firmly in the knowledge that authenticity will outlast gossip. Let's remember, Harry grew up watching his mother's every move dissected. He's spoken openly about the trauma of losing her in that context, not just to tragedy, but to media obsession. So when he and Meghan step back, it's not vanity, it's survival. It's protecting what Diana couldn't, the innocence of childhood. Diana once said she wanted her boys to understand that there was life beyond palace walls, real life with real people. Harry has taken that lesson to heart. He's ensuring that Archie and Lilibet experience the world Diana wished she could have given him, one where pumpkin patches matter more than protocols, where laughter echoes louder than criticism. Archie and Lilibet aren't growing up in gilded cages or under the blinding flash of tabloid cameras. They're growing up surrounded by trees, laughter, and freedom. And that's the life their parents fought for, a life far removed from the pressures of palace expectations. It's not lost on anyone that Harry once said, "I had to get my family out." Now, moments like this pumpkin patch outing show exactly what he meant. He didn't want to escape duty, he wanted to escape the distortion that came with it. The Feminegra article subtly captured that spirit. It wasn't sensational, it was human. It reflected a family that has endured the unimaginable betrayal, harassment, character assassination, yet still found a way to nurture joy. There's a quiet power in that. Because while tabloids obsess over whether Meghan wore designer jeans or how her hair was styled, the deeper story is about healing. Healing from public cruelty, from family rifts, and from the burden of expectation. And healing, we're learning, doesn't look like what we expected. It's not about revenge or retaliation. It's not about proving critics wrong through grand gestures. Instead, it's found in the small moments, picking pumpkins, reading bedtime stories, creating memories that belong only to them. This is the part that often gets overlooked in the headlines. Harry and Meghan aren't trying to win a public relations battle. They're trying to build a life worth living. And sometimes the most radical thing you can do is simply choose happiness. And through it all, the Sussexes have built something solid. Not a kingdom, but a home. Not subjects, but a community of supporters who understand their message of compassion, service, and truth. When they share footage like this, it's not just cute family content. It's a statement of survival, a declaration that love, when protected, can still bloom under pressure. You can see that same message reflected in their projects, from Archie to their humanitarian work, all guided by empathy and authenticity. Every step they take now is deliberate. They're not running from the past, they're redefining their future. And maybe that's what unsettles their critics the most. Because for decades, the royal playbook demanded compliance. Now, two of its brightest figures have written their own rules. When the world sees Harry and Meghan with their children, they see something new, not royalty as performance, but royalty as humanity. It's not about crowns or cameras anymore. It's about values. And that's why this small glimpse of family life matters so much. It's not about proving anything. It's about showing that a different path is possible, one where love isn't hidden behind palace walls or filtered through PR. Think about the courage it takes to choose a different path when the entire world is watching and judging. Every decision they make is analysed, criticised, and weaponized. Yet they continue to move forward with grace, knowing that their children's well-being is worth more than public approval. This is what leadership looks like in the modern age, not demanding that others follow, but simply living your values so authentically that it inspires others to examine their own. Even as tabloids spin, the Sussexes stay grounded. They don't need approval from the institutions that failed them. They've found validation in something more meaningful: peace. And peace, when you've lived through the storm, is the ultimate act of defiance. Every parent knows that the real measure of success isn't fame, it's whether your children feel safe, seen, and loved. And judging by how Harry and Meghan protect Archie and Lilibet, it's clear they understand that deeply. They may not live in a castle, but they've built a home filled with intention, laughter, and respect. And that's something no tabloid headline can diminish. Because in the end, what this pumpkin patch footage symbolises is simple: the reclaiming of joy. Joy that was stolen by years of public scrutiny. Joy that now thrives in California sunshine, far from palace walls. It's easy to forget that Harry and Meghan never asked to be global symbols of change. But they became that by living honestly, by standing up when it would have been easier to stay silent. And every small, genuine moment they share reminds the world that compassion and courage still matter. This isn't about fairy tales anymore, it's about truth. And that's what makes their story powerful. Because while their critics are busy shouting, Harry and Meghan are quietly building a legacy based on integrity, love, and the freedom to live authentically. In a world obsessed with exposure, Harry and Meghan's greatest act of rebellion has been choosing peace. They've taught us that privacy isn't secrecy, it's self-respect. That love doesn't need validation from institutions that tried to silence it. And that's the lesson behind that humble pumpkin patch footage: the beauty of choosing your own story, of protecting your family, and of knowing that real happiness isn't measured by titles, but by tranquility. Years from now, when Archie and Lilibet look back at these moments, they won't remember the headlines or the controversy. They'll remember autumn afternoons with their parents, the smell of pumpkins, the warmth of family. And that's the legacy Harry and Meghan are really building, not one written by tabloids, but one lived in moments of genuine connection. That's what makes this simple footage so profound. It's proof that they succeeded. They got out. They built something new. And most importantly, they're giving their children what every child deserves: a childhood. No amount of criticism can erase what they've built. They've turned pain into purpose, isolation into independence, and scrutiny into strength. And maybe that's the most inspiring part of all: the reminder that even after everything, Harry and Meghan have found something so many people spend a lifetime searching for: peace on their own terms.